What's up guys, to another video, and today we're going to talk about some photos that I took in the past, kind of compare, how I'm trying to essentially shift my style, going for that more vintage look, kind of basically going through the mindset of things, how the shots came to be, my thought process behind it, and how I was essentially able to put one and two together and create the shots that I did. I had a lot of questions in regards to color grading and what influenced the tones that I utilized within my shots, and the phase throughout years of progress as you grow as a photographer, and how things. So let me pull up a few photos that I took back in the day at the time. A lot of these photos, FYI, are not on my business account. They're mainly on my personal as well, but I will share them, and I may post it on my business account, so you may see it on there as well. Maybe not, but if anything, you'll see it here. So the first shot we're going to talk about is the Atom shot. A buddy of mine, Justin, I met this guy randomly on Instagram one day, and we were like, hey, we were just kind of conversing back and forth on camera gear that we utilize. Like, hey, let's hang out one day. Let's do something together. This shot, the reason why I brought it up now is because it's actually one of my favorites. If you look into the shot, you can actually kind of see it looks really gritty, and it has a big street style to it. You can see that there's a lot of blue and orange, and the colors aren't very illuminated. They're kind of dark and luminance, high in saturation, and shadows are definitely dark, and then the contrast is up, so it gives it that moody feel, like that dark moody feel, you know what I mean? We were here one day, we climbed to the rooftop, we went up the fire escape on the side of the building, we were on the roof essentially, and I was like, hey, I brought these sparklers from my house, and I was like, let's do something with this, right? I thought it would be cool. So I had them set against the wall, and I lit the sparkler, and I was like, sit really still. You know what I mean? Just because it's dark, and we're probably gonna most likely do like a long exposure shot to make sure that it's well illuminated. Lit up the sparkler. He set real still. I set it up for like I think 10 seconds, and he was really still for 10 seconds, which was great, by the way. You can sort of see my shoes on the far left corner, but I lit the sparkler up, and I was running around, creating circles and zigzags and whatnot, and after 12 seconds of running around, by the way, mind you, throughout that process, I was thinking in my own head, like, this is taking quite a long time. For 12 seconds sounds pretty quick, but it's not. Well, when you're in this situation, it drags. But at the end of the day, it was well worth the shot, because once the shutter closed and we looked at the preview, we were jumping up and down, and we thought this was the best shot ever. Like, this was the best. And it was, because I love it. This is, to this very day, whenever I go work with new clients or I want to show off the account, this is the first photo I bring up, because it's so unique. It's creative. Sometimes when you come up with something last minute, it turns out the best, and that's what this is. You know what I mean? This is art. Moving on, photo number 2. I took this photo with my buddy Jeremy in New York one day. Actually, when he graduated, I think this was 2019, class 2019. I think a day or two, or the same day after his graduation, I was like, hey, we're still going to New York, right? A 24-hour trip, mind you. We slept, we drove there, we drove back, we took all these shots, we had a full-on adventure, walked through the entire city, one end to the other, on foot, 10 miles, by the way, just to get dollar pizza. It was worth it. It was good for cheese pizza, but it wasn't like, wow, to walk 10 miles for. But that's what we did in the middle of the night. We're like, we gotta get this notorious New York dollar pizza, you know what I mean? We went down the trainway, the subway. We were going to Brooklyn, I believe, to check out the Supreme store. And I was watching the subway kind of whoosh by, and I was like, hey, this would be a great opportunity to get one of those motion blur shots. So I was like, let's get pretty close, not too close, not dangerously close, but close enough. And as soon as he got close enough, I dropped my shutter, and I adjusted my ISO, blah, 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 and I dropped my aperture. and I took the shot, and this is how it came out, which is great because the leading lines are on point from, you know, the horizontal subway and the vertical lights above and blah 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 and everything within the trainway. It came into place perfectly, and it was magic. It was great. Look at this, and obviously you can see the tones there. Again, the gritty street, the grittiness of tones that I was kind of, you get the contrast, clarity was up, noise reduction was pretty high up there, sharpening was high up there, did a little bit of vignetting, luminance was down, saturation was up, and I was really rocking with like the darker colors at the time. So moving on, shot number 3, or photo number 3. So this, okay, I don't know what it is. I think it's just Justin. I don't know. Well, I have another friend of mine that I've been shooting with for a very long time, but we also take bangers. But for this video, for now, just to keep it short, I'm gonna try to consolidate what I feel like is the best right now, at least right now. This is a abandoned train that was in Somerville, like right before Boston. So this was actually the first night that I met JVS, or in other words, Justin, right, my buddy, right? Which I'm actually gonna be shooting for, or what I mean with, this weekend, and we're gonna take some crazy bangers, and I'll definitely record the behind the scenes for that, so that way you guys can see the entire creative process and everything within the way of how these shots came to be live, essentially. So we checked out this trainway and we were like, bro, this is so dope. Graffiti, top to bottom. This train is about 100 plus years old, like a little over 100 years old. And you can see old old newspapers from about 100 years ago just laying on the ground and stuff. And it's really interesting because, you can see that historic factor in the trainway of it, right? So we posed, and I was like, hey, let's take a long exposure. We were in the middle of the train, and we realized it was a bit too dark, so we went to the end where you can get a little bit of moonlight from the night, and we utilized that for the shot. So we posed, I put it up for a 10-second timer, and boom, the shot came out the way it is. And surprisingly, the lights still came out through the side windows, which was pretty dark at the time, but I guess it makes sense why we were able to get some lighting that way. But this shot is awesome. I love this thing. I would print this and just keep it with me forever. You can also tell that we pixelated our faces. So at the time, I didn't really show my face or put my name on the account. It was more of like I wanted to seem like I was a vigilante in the dark of the city, climbing rooftops, abandoned places, running away from the feds, blah blah blah, all these things. Being like Batman of the city in the night. This photo is awesome. It's great. Just utilize the same preset that I had for the past few photos, except for the photo I did with Jeremy. That one was a bit different, but you can already tell from the orange and the colors match. For the one I had before was it was another preset that I put together and out of a pack of 5 that I created out of my mainly used presets, obviously. Moving on to photo number 4, right? So this was actually taken in downtown Lowell. This is a ledge photo that I took. This was a trend at the time too for urban explorers or urbex photographers, right? The notorious feet dangling, cliff hanging, photo that every guy loved to do. That was in the photography scene at the time, right? So I'm here on the ledge. I took this photo, which by the way, banger, right? Took a little bit of snow, sprinkled it on the top of my shoe right there, just to kind of give it that look, that essence, that like I struggled to get up here. You know what I mean? It was a struggle to get up here. Not really. It wasn't. It was literally just stairs. It's the same exact spot that I took that Adam photo with Justin, with the sparklers. Literally the same exact spot. It's just that I'm sitting on the ledge. Yeah, took that shot. Dropped the aperture, get some good lighting from the city in the background, a little bit more exposed, and had it focus on my legs, and this was great. This is a banger. I love this. I would probably still take photos like this to this day, maybe with slightly more courtesy, considering the fact that I am no longer a teenager and I can go to jail now. So yeah, but yeah, this is great. Photo number 5. Now we're going more back into the portraits, like real portraits, right? So on my Aperture point account, I actually, all you see is portraits. There's no landscape. My personal, there was more landscape, but that's because I was showing off more of, oh, I'm an artist shooting for me versus I'm an artist shooting for you, right? So let's talk about a few really quick. I have a lot of favorites on this account. That's the problem. So let me start with what really utilized more creativity, I guess, right? So this photo I took with Ananda. This was a neon light reflection photo that I took, and I utilized the same preset that I used for the landscape photos I brought up earlier, but for mainly portraits. This is, I'm lost of words for this one as well. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. I feel like every photo is a favorite at this point. It's just, I'm like, this is a banger. But then I go look at another one, I'm like, that's a banger too. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But don't mind you though, this is probably 1 or 2 or 3 photos out of 100 that I actually take that the day of, to be honest. So I guess you could say I worked for it. You know what I mean? Anyways, yeah, so you can see the blue and you can see the orange, which is my 2 favorite colors, by the way, which is why I mentioned it in the past few times. And so the thought process was, I saw this jewelry neon sign in downtown Lowell, and I was like, hey, you know, let's see what I could do with this piece of glass that I bought from a broken picture frame in Marshall's that I spent less than $1 for, by the way. They were like 2 perfectly sized rectangles, like the size of my palm, that were in good shape, but the frame was all busted. But that's okay, because all I needed was the glass. I didn't need the frame. You know what I mean? I'm creating pictures with it, not putting pictures in it. So, she modeled right beside it. I grabbed the piece of glass and I was shooting at, I think, 1.4 at the time on the 20 mil on the 5D Mark II, which is an old camera, by the way. But this was back 5 years ago now, actually. And we took this shot and it illuminated perfectly. The reflection was great. Bokeh was low. It gave like that dreamy vibes, I guess, a little bit, slightly dreamy vibes to it. And this is great. It came out the way I wanted it. It came out the way I expected it. And when I threw it into post, it came out way better than I expected it to be honest. So I'm more than just impressed about the entire process of it. And that happens a lot. When you're an artist, sometimes you go with the flow of things. You know, you capture something and you're like, this is great. You go home, you throw it on the post, and you start tweaking it a little bit, and you're like, this is not just great, this is phenomenal. This is great. And that's what this is. And I'm pretty sure I've said that with all of my other photos anyways. And you're probably gonna hear it for some other photos that I'm going to be showing. I might do a photo review Tuesday or Wednesday or something, or just do like a photo review every week, and then maybe some camera hacks, camera tips, maybe, if that's something you would like to hear more of. I went to my barber today, as you can see, pretty sharp. Shout out to Moreno, one of my, I've been going to Moreno's for 10 years, and I don't see myself going anywhere else for anyone cutting my hair or touching my head to cut my hair. And Moreno's a great guy. I love the vibe. Actually, I might shoot some B-roll in Moreno's and give him a huge shout out for how great of an artist he is. He also was a photographer years prior growing up too. And he was speaking to me about film photography earlier today. And I don't know a lick of anything about film, to be honest. Right? I'm a photographer. I've been shooting for years, and I've been in the game for a long time, and blah blah blah. And I've learned a lot and grew a lot in points for things, blah blah blah. But hearing it from him, from an actual film photographer who is now a barber, but used to be a film photographer, and it still has a huge love for it, sparked that a little bit of interest in me. So I think that is something we're going to talk about down the line. then I might end up buying a film camera and start taking some of these shots with it, and you guys will see it. And I hope that it would be something cool to share, and great that we could you know, bring onto this channel different types of photography, more video work, more of everything, a lot of everything. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Peace out, and have a great day.